Welcome to this video tutorial on making sure that the sequence resolution matches your video resolution. So when I say that, I mean, for example, here you've got a 720p footage in a 1080p sequence. So that's why at the moment you've got the black border around the video. So I'm going to show you how to fill up this video to the screen, so that way it then becomes a 1080p video clip, and it fills up the whole screen so you don't have the black border anymore. But I'm also going to show you the reverse when you've got a 720p sequence and 1080p footage. So as you can see here, so it's perfectly matched at the moment. This is 720p footage and the sequence is 720p. So when I say 720p, I mean 1280 by 720, and that's the video resolution. But here, if you look at the same point in the video clip, and he's really zoomed in, and that is because it's 1080p footage on a 720p sequence. So what it's done is it's scaled into the video clip. Now if you were to say zoom out of you can see there that the video clip is actually bigger than the sequence. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how to make sure if you've got a 720p footage on a 1080p sequence, how to frame it up so then the 720p footage is the same as the rest of the footage, which is 1080p. So what you do is hover over the 720p footage and then make sure it's selected, and then right click and then scale to frame size, and then straight away it's filled up the whole screen. So that 1280 by 720 resolution is now at a 1920 by 1080 resolution. So now I'm going to do the reverse, and I'm going to scale the 1080p footage back down to 720. So again, if you just right click it and scale to frame size, it then does the reverse, so it makes the image smaller. So for 1920 by 1080 resolution footage is now at 1280 by 720 resolution footage. One thing I'd say is it's better to set up your sequence correctly in the first place. So if, for example, you've got 1080p footage, which you can check by clicking on the clip in the project window and then scrolling along and looking at the video info, and as you can see, this 1080p is 1920 by 1080. So now a good way to set up the sequence so it matches your footage is to just create a sequence, and then it doesn't matter what settings you do there, and then when you drag this clip over here, it then usually asks you whether you want to change sequence or keep existing settings. And what I usually do is I usually change sequence settings. So then that way, the resolution of this footage now is the correct resolution on sequence. Now if you were in the middle of an edit and you didn't set up the sequence correctly, what you could do is quickly set up a use sequence like I've done here, and then make sure the sequence is set up correctly. So now if you made a lot of edits, you can easily just copy and then paste edits across into your sequence that have been correctly set up. One thing worth noting, when you have a 720p footage and you blow it up to match a 1080p sequence, What it does is essentially it's like when you have a digital zoom rather than an optical zoom on a camera, is all it's doing is zooming into those pixels. So when you do scale for 720p footage up to 1080, if you do zoom in too much, it will then pixelate and you will lose the quality of the video. So that's why it is better when you film to set up the correct video resolution on your camera and make sure you use that resolution throughout the whole of your shoot, so you don't have inconsistencies between the resolutions in your edit.